we are moving forward, and the Department of Justice has been working with us to turn over those documents. It takes a long time to gather and transfer 34,000 pages, and we're hopeful there's more, and we'll look at that and then post it online as quick as we can.
Okay.
Mr. Norman, would you yield for a minute?
Pardon me?
Would you yield for a minute?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll yield.
Sure. I just wanted to seek unanimous consent to put in the Newsweek article from August 1st of this year, so just last month, in which it talks about the fact that Trump's name was in the Jeffrey Epstein files and that 1,000 FBI agents were redacting those files to remove his name and others. So it's an August 1st, 2025 Newsweek report. It was also in Bloomberg and several other things, but I know we were on break, so you might have missed it. I yield.
Without objection.
So what she just said, y'all will be able to get into that, won't you? Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to answer every question. Now, Mr. McGovern, in fairness to you, you want to answer why, when you were chairman of this committee, you didn't bring up anything about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, I mean, one is I didn't campaign that I was going to release the Epstein files.
No.
Donald Trump made it into a big issue, and then we all expected it was going to be released, and then he decided at the last minute to change his mind, called people, said it was a big hoax, said Republicans were stupid for going along with it, and so those are his words. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell just got transferred like a month ago, so I wasn't chairman then. Of the committee.
No. Of 2019 to 2023, you were chairman.
I would have. Yeah, I mean, if people had brought to my attention that there was something there, I would have demanded that they be released.
The victims, no.
Well, I mean, if the victims came to us,
that didn't hold water.
Yeah, but the victims want the files released, and Republicans have been frustrating that effort for months and months and months. And you even adjourned early to avoid having to vote on it.
That is not true.
I want the truth out there. I want the files out there.
I'm taking my time back. I'm reclaiming my time. The fact is, if you had all the interest that you do now, it's just because of Donald Trump. You had 4 years to do it as chairman of this committee. And you've been in Congress 28 years. You and I both know the victims. This has been out that young girls have been victimized for the last 15 years, and you did nothing, which it shows you the hatred they have, and everything's political up here, particularly when it comes to Donald Trump. But the American people don't agree with you. Thank you, both of you, for testifying. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Ms. Leisure-Fernandez, you're recognized.
Hello. Chairwoman, we are back, aren't we? And we're back on Epstein, which is where we were before, indeed, Johnson shut down Congress early so we would not have to vote on a motion to put on the floor of the House the Massie kind of resolution to force the release of the Epstein files to the public, to pass a bill that would make it law that all of the files would have to be released. And there is no reason why we cannot still have that be a rule. And we can do both. But Republicans, and Trump especially, seem terrified of those files and seem willing to do all kinds of things to avoid a vote on that bill.
I know.
Now, I want to go into some other things, but I'm going to yield some time to my ranking member.
No, I would just want to respond to Mr. Norman. I knew there was some there when this administration was trying to hide everything. And that's, quite frankly, what has a lot of us concerned about what we're not doing here today, and that is not voting on the Massie counter bill. And my understanding is that there's some reporting out now, we're hearing, that the White House is calling Republican members asking them not to sign onto the discharge petition. And I don't even know what the hell happened to your resolution that you brought up before we kind of abruptly left early for our August recess. But yeah, this doesn't smell right. I think we need to get to the bottom of this, and that means that all the files have to be released. I yield back. I thank the gentlelady.
Thank you, Ranking Member. And, I am chair of the Democratic Women's Caucus, and we are always concerned about the fact that in this country, women and children and girls are attacked, they are abused. they are raped, they are trafficked, and they are done so by men like Epstein and by women like Maxwell, Ghislaine. And I think that it is an outrage, as you pointed out, Ranking Member Garcia, that she has now been treated favorably by the Trump administration after saying some things they liked. And what we haven't heard from you, Chair Comer, is a commitment not to say, well, it's going to be in the subpoenas, but to have a hearing on why. Will you commit to having a hearing to determine why she was moved to a more favorable conditions after that interview?
We'll have a hearing to determine the crimes that were committed. The hearing's going to be geared towards seeking justice for the victims, not scoring political points
This is
like
not
you
a
all
political
want.
point.
We're
The
concerned
victims-
about the victims and their request that someone finally be held accountable, because they weren't during the Biden administration, they weren't during the Obama administration.
I'm going to take.
They weren't during the Clinton
Chairman Comer,
administration.
The question was whether you would hold a hearing as
We'll
to
have
why
a
she
hearing.
was transferred.
You-
Why she was transferred after that.
We'll have a
interview.
hearing, and if
so
someone
the
wants to
answer is
ask
no.
that
So
question,
the
they can
answer is
ask
no.
it. You can
So the
ask any
answer is no.
question. We'll have a hearing.
But it wasn't a hearing on what the question was. And Ranking,
You want to have a whole hearing, a whole entire hearing, not about the victims, not about a government cover-up, not about human trafficking, but about Maxwell, who you all were like begging to be deposed, and I did the subpoena. Now you want to, now you're mad because she exonerated Trump. We brought in Bill Barr, who is I don't think it's any secret that he and Trump aren't best of friends,
I'm going to reclaim my time.
Well, that's
Reclaim
fine.
the time. The question wasn't about shouldn't we do all these things, but this is something very specific that indeed, as I understand, the victims raised today, they're outraged that this has happened. And it is indeed a re-traumatization when somebody who has done such horrible things is then treated favorably under these conditions. And I think that's where it's at. And I really want to thank you, Ranking Member Garcia, because you focused in your opening remarks about the horrors of what you heard today and of why it is so important for the survivors that they get justice. And it needs to come in many forms. And I think the fact that Trump doesn't want us to vote on this bill tells you a lot, right? And why are Democrats worried? We are worried because Trump keeps distracting and lying about things, right? Anytime he doesn't like something, he distracts and he lies. He claims inflation is down, but America's working families who are paying more for energy and groceries know the truth. Our small businesses are closing because of those tariffs. Trump didn't like the fact that Americans are losing jobs, so he fired the person who gathers the data. And with the Epstein files, he's terrified of what's in those files, and he knows his name will keep coming up again and again. And it is tied to the fact that Trump himself, Representative Garcia, you know that he's been accused of sexual misconduct at least 28 times. He's found liable by a jury of his peers for sexual abuse and defamation. So we're not going to be surprised when we find out that his name has been in his files, and we want to see what they are. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think we want to know what Attorney General Bondi told the president as it relates to his name being in the files, and has been widely reported. And I think the American public they have a right to know.
Right. And I think that Americans are worried about trusting Republicans on this because now Chairman Comer is saying we're doing all these things. Had they done anything at all before Democrats forced the vote on the subpoena? Had oversight done anything on
Well,
this?
I think that's a good reminder. I mean, the vote was a forced vote by a subcommittee of Democrats on oversight, where we got not all, but some Republicans to join all Democrats to subpoena the Epstein files. And had Democrats not taken that action, we'd have no subpoena, and we'd still be much further back in this investigation.
Right. And there were 2 Democrats who voted against that subpoena. Is that correct?
All
I
Democrats.
mean, sorry, 2 Republicans, all Democrats. Democrats forced the vote. Oversight had not done anything with regards to this until Democrats forced the vote, and then you had 2 Republicans vote against it nevertheless. Is that correct?
Including the subcommittee chairman, I believe.
Including the subcommittee chairman. So leaders in the committee voted against the subpoenas. Now, they're taking, and so this is why Americans might be worried about whether they're going to be forthcoming. Now, Chairman Comer, this resolution would give you, and only you, the power to decide what information in these documents is redacted or withheld. Is that correct?
Well, we're trying to do this in a bipartisan manner. Our staffs are communicating. I think, I hope Mr. Garcia would agree. I think our staffs, he's new to the job, and I think our staffs are working together really well, and hopefully we'll continue to work well. Like I said, I want this to be bipartisan. I don't want members of the committee, and members of the committee haven't been making the accusations that members of the Rules Committee have been making that, this isn't bipartisan. We want this to be a bipartisan investigation. We want to get the truth, and hopefully we'll do that. And you're trying to, I feel like, create a false narrative here to say that the Trump administration isn't working. They have been turning over the documents, and I mean,
So
I feel like we're on a pretty good roll here.
So, Chairman Comer, I appreciate that fact that you said you want to work on a bipartisan basis on this, but the resolution does not require you to consult with the ranking member.
The only thing that's going to be redacted are names of victims.
Does the resolution give the ranking member any role in approving redactions? And if you want to be bipartisan, would you be willing to accept an amendment to?
I'm making a pledge to work with Mr. Garcia. Hopefully, he'll keep Mr. McGovern and Mr. Raskin out of the room, and we can get some good things done in a bipartisan manner.
Well, a pledge is a wonderful thing, but an amendment that actually puts it into writing would be great. Would you be willing to accept that amendment?
I think the resolution's good, and hopefully we'll vote it out in a bipartisan manner. And if we need to use that as a basis in court to get more documents, we'll do that.
Okay, so you're not willing to actually put it in writing that you will, that the ranking member will be consulted before you approve.
I guarantee that I'll consult with him a heck of a lot more than Elijah Cummings and Carolyn Maloney consulted with me when they were chairman of the committee.
I'm not asking about past. I'm asking about what's this. And this is the problem. And the reason why we're concerned about this is, Chairman Comer, I've read accounts of you describing yourself as a Trump man.
As a what?
Trump man. I'm a Trump man. You said, well, I'm a Trump man.
I mean,
yes.
I support the president.
You support the president, and this is why it would be important to have in writing the bipartisan nature, because we want there to be bipartisanship, so that it is not a.
I want it too, but you all aren't making a good case up here. But I'm hopeful that Mr. Garcia is going to see past the behavior of the Democrats on the Rules Committee.
Madam Chair, Chairman Comer, I was speaking, and I think that it is important that we have people looking at these docs that are not a Trump man, so that we can make sure that everything gets responded to, because right now we haven't seen it. And that's why we want to make it the law of the land. We want to make sure that all Republicans vote on the Massie-Connor resolution, so that they can say, we want to make sure it becomes available to everybody without it going through any process of redaction. I think that's the key.
Ms.
It's good
Ledger.
to have your investigation, but it's good to have other things too.
Ms. Ledger-Fernandez, do you want to vote tonight? Would you like to vote tonight? They're going to call the vote at 20 minutes after. And so I don't know if you want to finish before I'm going to
At 20
make
minutes
a
after,
recess.
I think I'll be done before 20. I think I have less than 40 minutes.
I'm going to call for a recess in about 3 minutes so that we can go vote.
Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to see if there was anything else that the ranking member wanted to add to this discussion.
And I think the only thing that I think is important is all Republicans who support transparency and accountability should support the Thomas Massie resolution. I think it's clear. It puts everyone on record. One would actually be a law versus a resolution. And again, we're happy to support any resolution or any effort to support transparency. And I think the same should be said for the other side of the
being in that discussion today as well.
Thank you, Mr. Comer. Mr. Garcia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to begin, I think in a very bipartisan manner earlier today. I think both Republicans and Democrats got a chance to hear just horrific stories, and to hear these incredible and brave women. Thank you. Earlier today, we heard, of course, these horrific stories from these women who are incredibly brave, and the courage that they showed to be here to share stories of sexual abuse, some of them when they were girls, young girls, I think has shaken a lot of us on this committee and reaffirmed our commitment to the truth and transparency. Now, the Oversight Committee, particularly Democrats, are going to continue to investigate the Epstein files and bring justice to the victims of these heinous crimes. After meeting with the survivors, of course, of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, we're once again reminded of the monstrous actions that they took against over 1,000 women and girls. It's important that we center their stories and work for accountability. And I want to just remind this committee and the public that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are monsters, criminals, liars, and in no way should they be lionized or supported. And it is an outrage that Ghislaine Maxwell has been moved to a facility where she is now more comfortable. And I think it's also appropriate to say that that was also horrifying to the women in the testimony that we heard today. And re-traumatizing the victims because of this move is shameful and should never have happened in this country. When you harm innocent women and girls, you should be held accountable, and I'm hopeful that in a bipartisan way this committee will do that. Now, I appreciate that, of course, close to 34,000 pages of documents have been released by the Department of Justice. That is complying with the subpoena, of course, that was put forward. But over 97% of those documents have already been released to the public. And I'm glad that we're releasing all those files to the American public. Most of it's already in the public record. What we need right now is full compliance with the subpoena. And the Attorney General, who once said that the files were on her desk, should release all the files immediately. There cannot be additional failures or additional cover-ups by this government that has already failed these victims now for decades. That cannot continue. We've got to follow the facts, we've got to get all the files out to the public, and we've got to ensure that there's justice for all of the victims and the girls. I also just want to add that Oversight Democrats have supported every single time there's been an opportunity to support transparency. We, of course, forced a vote to release and get the subpoena out. We will continue to take those actions. But any action that promotes transparency, we're going to support. If there's going to be a resolution, of course, it's going to come in front of the Congress to support additional transparency and openness in the Epstein files. We are going to support that. And any other committee that brings forward any other resolutions, we will support. But that does not somehow supplant the work on the discharge petition that Congressman Khanna and Congressman Massie are moving forward. We will continue to support that discharge petition, and we will support any other resolutions that come forward that also holds Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and anyone else accountable. And I'll conclude just by saying that it is our hope that this investigation takes on and leads us to the truth, and we do not care how powerful you are, what political party you're in, how much wealth you have, or how connected you are. If you cause harm to these women and these girls, then we're coming after you, and justice should be served. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Chairman Comer, would you like to respond to anything Ranking Member Garcia had to say?
I appreciate his statement that this has been bipartisan thus far. I think this is an opportunity for this committee to demonstrate that we can work together in a bipartisan way. This is a bipartisan issue. Every Republican I know in Congress wants the Epstein files to be released. Every Republican in Congress I know wants the people that were trafficking women to be held accountable. Every single Republican I know wants the government officials who were involved in any potential cover-up or blackmail operation, if there was one, to be outed and held accountable. So we're going to try to do everything we can to get this, and I think we've demonstrated that. I'm a Republican. We subpoenaed Bill Barr. We subpoenaed Alex Acosta. We've subpoenaed Pam Bondi for the Epstein documents. I don't remember when I was in the minority, a Democrat chairman subpoenaed any Democrat officials in the administration. So we've demonstrated we don't care about political party. We don't care about what your last name is. We don't care how powerful you are. We want to know the truth, and we're doing everything we can. And I hope that the Democrats will work with us in this endeavor, and not politicize it.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I was in that hearing for most, or the meeting with the victims today, and I appreciated very much, Mr. Garcia, what you said about this being a bipartisan effort and there being so many Democrat members there. But I also agree that there hasn't been this level of interest in this issue before.
Right.
I've been here a long time.
It dates back, what we learned from today, it dates back to 96. It dates back six prior administrations. So there have been many other administrations that could have released it and for whatever reason hasn't. But thus far, this administration is producing documents like we've asked, and I appreciate that.
Right. So you've stated a little bit already, the information that you've already received from the Trump administration after the subpoena for the records was executed, and how quickly the committee started receiving the information.
Yeah, as soon as the subpoena went out, we heard from the Department of Justice. Their attorneys started communicating with our attorneys, and they started gathering the documents, and I think we got the documents in record time. I can't remember a time when we subpoenaed the Merrick Garland Department of Justice and never got anything from them. So I applaud the Pam Bondi and the Trump administration for working with the committee and for being transparent.
And as you just mentioned, there have been times when you have requested information. I can remember I'd been here 3 months, and I was on the oversight committee, on a subcommittee, and we had a bureaucrat come in, and the chairman of the committee said, I've asked you for 3 years to give us information. And the person just sat there and wouldn't say a word and wouldn't respond in any way. Wouldn't you rather have a subpoena in hand above everything else, even a law passed by Congress?
Absolutely.
Which can be challenged in court immediately to get this information?
Absolutely. We're doing what that discharge petition wants done. And we're 3 steps ahead of that discharge petition. We've already deposed former Attorney General Bill Barr. We've already subpoenaed the estate, the Epstein estate, for all the documents.
And
we've already
said
subpoenaed.
September 8th, the material would come from them?
I'm sorry?
You said the Epstein estate is going to start producing
September
material?
8th. September 8th, they're going to produce the documents from the estate. I believe September the 16th or 19th one, Alex Acosta's coming in for a deposition, and I know that during our discussion, Ms. Crockett and Raj Krishnamurti, I believe, asked questions about what we should ask Acosta. So everybody, both sides are going to get equal time to interview Acosta on all of that. And again, the administration has complied with our request, and I think we're getting those documents, and as we speak, they should be being uploaded to a website right now.
And it's my understanding that the Massie document, the Massie legislation, only asks only for information from the administration. Is that correct?
That's right.
It doesn't go beyond the administration.
Right, and we're going to go beyond it. We're already getting the documents from the administration, and we've moved way past, because that discharge petition was filed 6 weeks ago. We've already deposed, again, the former Attorney General. We've got dates set for others to come in. We're downloading 34,000 pages of documents. We met with the victims today and got more names that they said in front of the minority, and we're going to press forward with that. So we're way ahead of this discharge petition. I don't think it's necessary at all.
And and you are going to be in a very unique position of being the arbiter of any needed redactions, keeping that decision in the hands of members of Congress, correct?
Correct. And there were, one of the victims today made it very clear she didn't want her name, made public. Others said they were willing to let their names be public and were willing to testify in a public hearing. And so, you have to know, you have to have grant the privacy rights to the victims. Some of the victims want their names out there, and some want their names to be redacted.
And it's my understanding that was not sufficiently taken care of.
That's correct.
In the Massie legislation.
That's correct. And I also want to mention that Speaker Johnson, sat through the whole meeting today with the victims, the entire 2.5 hour discussion we had, bipartisan discussion.
And what I heard from the victims was that they feel for the first time that they're being heard.
They feel that they're being heard, but they made it very clear they don't have a lot of trust in anyone affiliated with the government, because they believe that their government has let them down. And the timeline of that would date over both Republican and Democrat administrations in the past.
Correct. So let me see if I can put all this together. You believe a formalized investigation by the House is the best path forward to obtain the records and disclose them to the people.
Yes.
You've made a commitment, and our resolution makes a commitment to disclose everything that can possibly be disclosed short of violating the privacy rights of others.
Yes, ma'am, 100%.
And by having the full House vote and speak in support of this investigation, it will be helpful to you in executing the mission that you're about. Is that correct?
Absolutely. If we have to go to court for something, if it's a good bipartisan vote in the House of Representatives, that only helps.
Okay. I appreciate that very much. Mr. McGovern.
Thank you very much. First, I think I want to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Massie-Clinton resolution, because you keep on saying that it doesn't protect the victims, but there's in yellow here, there's some pretty explicit language about protecting the identity of the victim, so I don't want there to be any confusion.
Without objection.
And, Mr. Comer says it's unnecessary, but this bill we're doing right now is unnecessary because you're already doing something. So I can't help but feel that this is like cover. And I got to be honest with you, we've been trying to bring, legislation to the floor. We're trying to, amend bills to try to get this administration to do what Trump said he was going to do during the campaign, and that is release all the files. We had to recess early because people didn't want to take a vote on it. And I think, I appreciate the niceties of both of you appearing before this committee, right now, but I got to tell you, I think what's going on here today is the Republicans are terrified. And I think we all know why. And that is because the president doesn't want to release all the files. I mean, after promising that he would release them during the campaign, then he issued, that was in 2024, and then 2025, he says, it's all a big hoax. It's perpetrated by Democrats and some stupid Republicans. That's his quote verbatim. So when you say all Republicans want this stuff released, I don't think that guy does.
That's right.
And what you're telling us that you're going to release some of the files tonight, if I heard Mr. Garcia correctly, 97% of which is already out in public. So we get 3% that's new. I don't know what it's going to say. But I just don't understand what the big deal is. Why can't the administration just release the files? You can do the investigation, but just release all the files. Trump and the people he put in charge of the FBI and the DOJ promised that they would. And it's just kind of strange that they haven't done so yet. I mean, don't you think? I mean, we just want to know, what are they trying to hide? Why is this such a difficult thing for them to do? You know, before we left for recess, you guys all told us that you wanted to release the files and that a non-binding resolution authored by Mr. Norman was an important step forward to getting the Epstein files released. Why hasn't that been called up yet? Mr. Scott had the authority to do so for weeks. He could do so this week. Hasn't done it. I don't know why not. Maybe Mr. Norman can explain to us why his Epstein resolution never made it to the floor. Maybe Mr. Scott can tell us why, would like to share with us why he decided not to call up the rule for its consideration when it was well within his power to do so. But honestly, the answers they give really don't matter, because the resolution was nothing more than a distraction to buy time. And I think we're doing the same again today. But today's resolution is even worse. At least Mr. Norman's do-nothing resolution had a deadline of 30 days. If I'm reading your resolution correctly, there's no deadline. It's just an open-ended distraction with the same goal. Protect the powerful, hide the files, and buy some time for people to forget. So, you know, all that has to happen for the files to be released is one thing. The Trump administration needs to release them. That is all. And if that's too complicated for some Republicans to get their arms around, that's okay, because they're in luck. Someone has already done the work for them, because there is a bipartisan bill offered by Mr. Massie and Mr. Khanna that would force the administration to release the Epstein files while protecting the victims. And Mr. Comer, just for the record, I think you're not in support of the Massie Khanna bill, but let me ask you formally, I mean, do you support the Massie Khanna bill to release the Epstein files?
We're doing that as we speak. And you said some of the documents were going to be released. All 34,000 documents will be online, hopefully in the next 5 minutes, if they're not now.
Yeah, but 97% of which we've already seen. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, first, appreciate the comments, but we should be clear. I mean, if it's true, as the chairman said, that every Republican supports disclosure around the Epstein files, then every Republican should sign the discharge petition from Congressman Khanna and Congressman Massie. There's no question. And the key difference in that petition as well is that petition ensures, one, that members of Congress are all on the record on releasing the files, and two, that petition, as you have in front of you, also ensures that the files actually go to the American public, that they're actually released to the public. I appreciate that the subpoena that we forced a vote on is going to our committee, and it's important work. Most of the documents that were sent to our committee, those initial documents were given to right-wing influencers back in February. The files and the full report, according to the Attorney General, were sitting on her desk ready to be released. We know that the Attorney General herself has shared with the president directly that he is also in the files. The reason, and we don't understand why this cover-up by the president continues to not release the full files. And so the discharge petition is an important additional step forward for the full Congress to be on record to release the full files. And so that piece is important. And it's clear that, well, maybe there are some Republicans in Congress, and hopefully all, that want to see disclosure. That is not the case with the Republicans in the White House and the Department of Justice.
So 7 months, to get released, 97% of which already been released. But again, Mr. Comer, I mean, do you support the Massie counter resolution, yes or no?
We're already doing it. And let me say,
No, it's a
Mr. No,
simple
the
yes or no
discharge
answer.
petition does not have the
You
force
can
of law.
begin-
We've already
you can-
subpoenaed.
You can begin
And
by
look,
saying no, and I'll let you.
No,
and you
look,
can answer
Mr.
or
McGovern,
yes,
it's very
and you can answer.
disappointing that you're trying to politicize this. We're trying to get answers.
Let me
We're
reclaim
trying to
my
do
time.
everything that's in this discharge
Let me-
petition,
I'm gonna-
but you're trying to politicize
No,
it.
no, it's a yes or no question. It's not a trick question. I mean, do you think?
We've already
do you
done
think-
what
do
the
you think
discharge petition's
Do you
asking.
think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become
The
law?
bill
which would
has
excuse me,
no
I'm
force of
speaking.
law.
I have-
It has
I have
no
the time.
force of the law.
Yeah.
You're just
No,
trying to do
we're
a
talking
political
about-
stunt.
Hey, guys,
Do you- I-
look, ask the question, Mr. McGovern, let him answer.
Well, I was asking a question, he interrupted me.
Okay, let.
It's a simple yes or no
You ask the
question.
question.
Simple yes or no question. Do you
We're
support-
already doing it.
All right, well, that's not a yes or no, but do you think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become law, which would require the release of all the files?
It doesn't have the force of the law. It's just a political stunt. It's just a political stunt. And you
This is a
know,
resolution. The counter is a Massie counter bill would become law. If all you Republicans want everything released, then, you know, you could vote for it, and then if he decides to veto it, you could override the veto.
the subpoena goes further than the discharge petition. Discharge petition is just a political stunt. Just a political stunt.
All right, so you're.
And look, we have done everything bipartisan in this investigation. This is an opportunity. And I think most of the Democrats on the Oversight Committee want to be bipartisan in this, Mr. McGovern.
So you're not going to answer my question, but look, we're meeting here under an emergency procedure to consider this resolution, which, if I'm reading it right, simply tells your committee to continue doing what you're doing. Do you need this resolution to continue doing what you're doing, Mr. Garcia? I mean.
We don't, the resolution as presented is not necessary. Again, we want disclosure, we want the files released, but what should have happened is we should vote on the discharge petition and move it forward and then continue our work. Can I say one more thing, Mr. Ranking Member? I also want to be clear that the DOJ has not been forthcoming or presented everything that we've asked for in the subpoena. And I think it's important that even in our recent interaction with the DOJ, they're essentially now not giving us any new additional information as to when we're receiving the rest of the files. And so having Congress act and taking a vote on the full release of the files is an important additional step, which is why the discharge petition is important. And the resolution should not somehow take precedent or discourage members from somehow signing the discharge petition.
So help me understand what we're considering right now. Does this resolution grant you any new authority?
No.
I think the resolution will send a signal if we end up in court. If, as the victim stated today, there's some of the most powerful and some of the richest names in the world were involved in a cover-up, we're going to end up in court. And I think the resolution will demonstrate that Congress is working in a bipartisan manner, not trying to be partisan, to get the truth to the American people and hold people accountable.
Yeah, why don't we do both? I mean, Mr. Massie, last time I checked, is a Republican. Other Republicans will sign that. I mean, why can't we do both?
I think we can. I think.
Excuse me, Mr. McCarthy, would the gentleman yield a moment?
Yes.
We can. We certainly can do
Okay,
both.
well, let's do-
We'll pass this resolution here, and then if sufficient people sign the discharge petition, then it will come out. And it's my understanding there is a significant difference in the resolution that we have here and the Massie resolution, and that is this resolution demands disclosure, whereas the Massie resolution does not. So I think we can do both.
Yeah.
And let that happen. That we want to show that we want this done in a very important way.
Well, if we can do both, then why is the Rules Committee standing in the way of allowing, I'm going to have a vote on the Massie counter resolution. Why would Republicans of the Rules Committee block us from just bringing it to the floor? We could vote on both.
Because they've already started the discharge petition.
Well, that doesn't,
They've already started it.
yeah, well, that's a nice, well, that's, whatever, that's, I don't even want to say what I'm thinking about that answer, but Let me just ask, this is a yes or no question. Does the administration have the power to release the Epstein files with appropriate redactions to protect the victims and the survivors? Do they have the authority to do that?
I think so with the
Okay.
subpoena.
Yes.
All right, they do. So, but they're not. And Mr. Comey, this resolution that is before us right now says that you're investigating mismanagement that led to Mr. Epstein's death. Who was the President of the United States when Mr. Epstein died in custody?
I would assume it would have been Trump.
Yeah. And I have just one last question. You referred to Ghislaine Maxwell as a terrible individual. And I guess the question is, maybe you can enlighten us, what have you done to investigate why Ms. Maxwell was moved to a minimum security facility? I mean, she's a convicted child predator, sent to prison. She testifies before some people in the administration. She didn't testify. She answers questions that are put forward by somebody in this administration. She basically says the president didn't do anything wrong, and then all of a sudden is moved to a minimum security facility. Are you going to do? Have you done a hearing on that? Are you doing a hearing on that?
We've subpoenaed Ms. Maxwell. She sent a letter via her attorneys and said that she requested that we wait for the deposition until after the Supreme Court rules on her appeal. We're hoping that's this month. So as soon as the Supreme Court rules on her appeal, we'll go in and do a formal deposition. So Mr. Garcia will be there. I'll be there if he wants to be there.
I'm not into.
And those questions can be asked. Those are legitimate questions.
Well, but I don't think Ms. Maxwell can answer those questions. I mean, I listened to some of her interview, and it sounded like there was no cross-examination. I'm just curious why, after she said what she said, was she moved? So it's not about Ms. Maxwell. It's about somebody made the decision to move her, which I don't think was expected. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be really clear. First of all, Democrats on the committee, we did not support moving Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony after the Supreme Court heard her appeal. In fact, that was a decision that the majority made that we did not support. We think that Ms. Maxwell, before she was interviewed by Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, should have been in front of a bipartisan committee in a deposition. And so, to be clear, and I think it's safe to say that it's an outrage and shameful that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a facility where she is now more comfortable and has more access to folks both on the outside and her ability to move freely, when she has victimized over hundreds and hundreds of women. And I'll add one more thing to that. We've written to the DOJ, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, demanding answers, yet no response from the Attorney General. We have no idea why she was moved and at whose direction was she moved to that facility.
But she was moved, and correct me if I'm wrong, by this current administration, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think
I would think that, I mean, this is so outrageous that a big part of the investigation of your oversight committee should be on that as well. And I mean, I hope that you pursue that. But again, I mean, I think it is imperative that we pass the Massie kind of bill, because I think it does have the force of law, and because I don't trust this administration to basically. I mean, something's going on here. I don't know what, but there's a reason why everybody went from we're going to release the files one day to the next day saying we're not. So in the spirit of full transparency and the spirit of demanding that they do what they said they were going to do, I think I think we need to do more than what we're doing. Mr. Comer?
Yeah, I was just told by counsel the documents pertaining to the move would fall under the Department of Justice subpoena. So I think that's a fair question that I'm confident if we don't ask it, Mr. Garcia will whenever we're.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this whole episode has been outrageous, and it's disgusting, and it's been strange, especially the way this Congress has dealt with it up to this point. And so some of us, believe we ought to, we ought to also pass the Massie kind of bill, and I hope that we will do that. I hope my friends on the Rules Committee will allow us to offer it, because I'll bring it up as an amendment. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McGovern. Ms. Fishbach, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am confused because the Oversight Committee is trying to do the investigation, trying to get the information, trying to get it released. They have been working on it most of August.
Yes.
A significant part of August. So I am confused as to why the Democrats are opposing this, because you are doing it in the way that it should be done, not some resolution added, like the Democrats attempted to in Rules Committee in the middle of, well, it wasn't the middle of the night, in the evening. But instead, this is a thoughtful way that you are handling this, bipartisanly. I understand, and so I am just really confused about that. And I just want to say that I thank you for doing what you're doing, because we obviously need to figure this out in a respectful manner, so we are protecting those victims who don't want to be publicized. We're doing it in an organized manner so that things happen in a transparent manner. And we are going to, and my understanding is you are going to disclose and publish everything.
Everything.
Everything that, and so I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but I just wanted to point out how confused I am about this, because this is just grandstanding and political theater.
Absolutely.
From the other side, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
We want to know. I want to know. If you look at the roster of the committee, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, they want to know. I mean, they ask tough questions. And look, when Acosta is interviewed, there'll be some tough questions for him. He has a lot of questions that need to be answered with respect to some things. So we've not put a line down. We're only going after the Democrats. That happened in the past when the Democrats were in charge. They only went after Republicans. We want to get the truth, and it goes back. It spans 6 administrations. So look, for whatever reason, according to the victims today, and Dr. Fox was in there, Mr. Garcia was in there, they've been giving interviews to FBI and other government officials, people in various departments of justice for decades, and name names, and nothing's been done. You know, the Biden administration had an opportunity to release the Epstein files, and they didn't do it. You go back. I mean, this is something that we're committed to doing, and we want to do. I want to be able to say the Oversight Committee, this was a big investigation. The American people are watching. I want everything out and open. So, we're trying to do it, and we're trying to be bipartisan, and hopefully my friends across the aisle, I think the majority of the Oversight Democrats are sincere and want to do this in a bipartisan way. Hopefully the Democrat leadership will let this be bipartisan and not play political games.
Thank you.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will yield.
I'm confused, too, about something that Mr. McGovern said, that 97% of what's been released was already public information. I'm not sure why that's negative, because they keep saying that, 3% is new, but now it's all available to the public. Is that correct? Because maybe it was released to some people, but now it's released to everybody, right? So everyone can see it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the 3% is that hadn't been released before, whether it has any significance, but I'm confused, as the gentlewoman from Minnesota is confused as to why are they downplaying that, or why are they saying that's a waste of time?
I don't know. It's not. And, I think all of us during August, if we went out and met with constituents, they were all asking about this. The American people want to know they would like, I've said this in a million interviews, they want to know, who all was involved in the sex trafficking, what big names were taking advantage of those girls, and was the government involved? Those are the three questions, and I hope we'll be able to get as much information as possible. Look, this dates back, according to what we heard today from the victims, as far back as '96. So, let's hope that there's still documents around. I've always had a huge distrust of the FBI and the Department of Justice under various administrations, and I've always had a theory that sometimes documents don't survive from one administration to the other. We're going to do everything we can to get that information, and I think this resolution's a step in the right direction. I don't think the other thing's needed.
I thank the lady for yielding.
Thank you. But just to reiterate, I just hope that the Democrats will stop the grandstanding and really, work on the bipartisan oversight committee and making sure that these things are dealt with. I think it's a disservice to all of the victims to not work and to pretend that this is somehow bad, but focus on it and make sure, I'm asking the Democrats, make sure that it's bipartisan. Make sure that you're doing what needs to be done, the disclosure's done and the investigation is done. Because this isn't something that should be about political points. This is about something that we should investigate. And so with that, I just hope that they would come with us and help with the Oversight Committee investigation.
Thank you.
With that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Ms. Scanlon, you're recognized.
And I would yield to Mr. McGovern for a minute.
I'm sorry there's so much confusion on the Republican side of the aisle. I don't understand why we're just not all demanding that the administration release all the files. And we could do that if we were able to vote on the Massie counter resolution. But apparently we can't do that. And forgive me if I'm just a little bit suspicious about all that's going on here, because I've been on this committee all year with all of you, and I have watched as we have weaved and dodged and avoided bringing anything to the floor dealing with this. And I've also, we began our August recess early because none of you wanted to take a vote and hold this administration accountable, and you ran out of town. So again, want to do something bipartisan? Maybe we all can join on a bipartisan appeal to this administration to find out why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a cushy facility after she exonerated Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. We've lived through the last several weeks as Republicans have tried to avoid dealing with this issue. And so I hope, and I trust that there's bipartisan cooperation on the Oversight Committee, and I want that investigation to move forward. But for the life of me, I do not understand why the administration, after promising to release all the files, has chosen not to. So that's what I'm confused about. I thank the gentlelady for yielding.
Thank you. Mr. Comer, I think in your introduction, just for folks who are trying to play catch up here, because there's a lot of details and a lot of names being thrown around, you said that one of the issues here is that the U.S. attorney who initially handled Mr. Epstein's case gave him a sweetheart deal. That's right, isn't it?
Was the initial U.S. attorney was who?
Well, you didn't name him, but it was Alex Acosta, right?
I don't know if he was the initial, but he was one of them. Yeah, he gave him,
So he was the U.S. attorney appointed by George Bush in
one
Florida,
of them,
whatever
yes.
district, and he's the one that gave the deal to Epstein, where he served a couple months, but basically got out on release every day, despite all the horrific crimes that we now know occurred. Okay, and in his later career, he became Secretary of Labor in the first Trump administration, right? And he had to leave after reporting disclosed this sweetheart deal. Is that right?
I don't know what caused him to leave, but.
Okay. It was about that time.
Okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, I know we've heard that you've received some materials. Are there redactions in those materials?
Yeah, there are appropriate redactions. we'll be able to review the full materials. There'll be some opportunity to review the materials without some redactions from the committee staff and committee members that don't put any of the victims in harm's
Obviously.
way. But there are some, again, the reality about the materials, though, is there's nothing really with a small amount, a couple thousand pages of new information. I mean, all the information was first given to right-wing influencers back in February, and then has been released to the public, whether it's been through the media or other ways. And so we can get the full files today. We know the DOJ has them. They're not answering our questions. We're asking when are we getting the rest of the files. We get no response. And to clarify one thing, Ms. Gallen, I think it was said earlier by another member of the committee that we're somehow opposing this resolution, or we're not opposing anything. We want full disclosure. If the majority wants to put together a resolution to add to more disclosure, that's fine. But that resolution should in no way supplant the discharge petition or serve as some kind of distraction to not get the full Congress on record to release all the files.
Okay. I mean, I guess I was asking about the redactions because there's been reporting that under Attorney General Bondi, hundreds of FBI and DOJ man-hours have been dedicated to redacting all references to the president. So is there anything to indicate that the materials you've received thus far contain some of those redactions?
So we believe that the materials that we've received so far there are redactions in there. We are reviewing some of those redactions currently. The team still is. But we believe that a vast majority of those documents are actually not presenting any new information. And we do believe there are important and critical documents that we have not yet received from the DOJ that contain important information to this investigation, and we have yet to see those.
Do you have explanations for the redactions that you have seen thus far? Have those been provided by DOJ?
We do have some explanation of some of the redactions, but there are no documents in what we have been presented that are of concern as it relates to redactions.
I'm just concerned because that is one of the pieces of the Massie underlying legislation, which is that to the extent the DOJ turned over any materials, it would have to explain any redactions.
That's right.
Or claims of privilege or whatever.
But that's important, certainly in future documents. So
Yes.
as more documents come forward, ensuring that that is a piece of it is going to be important.
And I guess going back to this issue of Ghislaine Maxwell getting this cushy assignment, my understanding is that when she was moved to this new facility, that was against Bureau of Prison regulations, and someone higher up from the White House or the Attorney General's office would have had to excuse that normal Bureau of Prison rule.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Just that I think that Republicans should join Democrats on the Oversight Committee and others in demanding answers as to why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved and who gave the orders to move Ghislaine Maxwell. We still don't know that answer.
I think that's an important part as well. And pleased to have been able to sign the discharge petition before we came up for this hearing. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallen. Mr. Norman, you're recognized.
Thank both of you for coming. I think what's interesting about this hearing, Mr. Governor, you've been kind of very critical of everything that's been going on here and about you need answers, and some of it we do need answers on. But the biggest, and you said things were outrageous and whatnot, you're confused. What I'm confused about, you were elected to Congress in 1997, 28 years. You were chairman of this committee, the Rules Committee, from 2019 to 23. Now, if this is all of a sudden so important, when you as chairman, you had every right to bring up everything we're talking about now. What did we hear from you? Crickets. So that's the big confusion I have. And Representative Comer, the thing about political grandstanding, that's all this is.
Well, I didn't
and I
write
don't
presidential campaign saying it was a release to Epstein files.
If I've got the floor, I recognize you, but we're not going to talk over each other. Have some decency. This is an anti-Trump. You're asking all these questions, who released Ghislaine Maxwell? When you had the opportunity, you didn't say one word. This is anti-Trump, and it's coming out for that. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. How many victims were interviewed today?
6.
And you think it's hundreds?
They said it was hundreds, like close to 1,000, but hundreds. It's what the attorneys for the victim, the attorneys were represented by the victims were represented by 4 attorneys, and they said as many as 1,000.
Well, the process is moving forward.
Right.
We all know the discharge petition.
And this-
I don't mind having 2 tracks. But the bottom line is, Mr. Governor knows it has to go to the Senate. I don't know what they'll do with it, but it's going to take time. You're not waiting on anything.
No.
You're moving forward.
We're moving forward.
And like Chairman Fox said, everything's going to get released. Now, let me ask you this. Are the flight logs public information? Who flew on the planes?
Okay. Some are, but the estate subpoena should cover more of that.
We all know anybody how far back would the flight logs? You can alter a flight log. If you're flying on a plane, you can't.
Back to 1990.
Okay, 1990. We know people that were on that flight weren't going over there to have Bible studies.
Right.
They were doing other things. So we'll see, is your opinion, all the flight logs of whoever went, doesn't matter. That will be released.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know. I think everybody wants to know.
You hit it on the head, James. I mean, people want to know the names.
Yeah.
If a crime has been committed against thousands of women, young girls, this transcends politics. That's why I don't understand. The fact that you're politicizing this is not right. This transcends. This is young girls getting